Ooh, Mr. Noob, I have a question. What is a tryhard motorcycle? I always hear tryhard said as a pejorative by soft boys who can't handle this thunder. Well, my myopic little squidlet, a tryhard is you. Or more simply put, a tryhard motorcycle is a bike that has a chip on its shoulder because it's living in the shadow of something better. No matter how hard it tries, it will never be as good as it wants to be, or that its riders are trying to justify spending a massive amount of money on a motorcycle that they are incapable of riding or would have been better served by getting something else. You guys need to remember, motorcycles are designed to be fun, and if you're buying a motorcycle to prove a point or because it's somehow going to make you better, you need to take a good long look at yourself in the direction that your life is headed. Now that we're getting a little bit spicy, and whenever that happens, we'll see a lot of butthurt commenters who don't realize that we're just goofing around here. So here's your little head pat. If your motorcycle appears on this list, we're not making fun of you personally or attacking your choices. Just take a chill pill and enjoy the roast for what it is. Feeling better? No? Well, I have a solution for you. If you made it all the way through that intro and you're scared that your bike might appear on this list, then you might as well just go get another one. But where can you go to get a motorcycle and you know it's Yami Noob approved? Why, Eurocycle, my lovely little cephalopod. Eurocycle is our preferred dealership. In fact, it's where we get all of our motorcycles that we give away. They're your #1 source for European bikes. That includes Ducati, BMW, and their biggest seller of MB Agusta in America. They ship nationwide, so if you click the link down below, you can shop your next bike online and have it shipped directly to your door. But it doesn't stop there. If you're already a member on YamiNoob.co, you'll get $300 off the purchase price of your motorcycle from me to you. And if you're not, you'll get a year membership to YamiNoob.co with all the benefits. That's entry to win all of our giveaway bikes, 10% off of our merch. That includes gear, parts, and tires, and all Twisted Road rentals too. And Discord access for a whole year. What more reason do you need? Click the link down below and check out Eurocycle for your next bike and tell them we sent you. Now, let's get started with the one that bugs the crap out of me. It's the Kawasaki ZX14. Now, you know me, I'm a born and bred Busa boy, or at least I am now, because my life took a really weird turn at some point. It's the king of speed, a household name, a trendsetter. Some might even say it's the greatest motorcycle of all time. I wouldn't say that though, because clearly a Turbo Busa is much better. In reality, Hayabusas are whatever. You know what I'm saying. It's like a normal Busa, but more. But then in 2006, you had Kawasaki watching Suzuki have all the fun with their big dick energy, open class superbikes, and they said, I'd like some of that, please. And they needed to do something different. They had to come correct, and if you ask me, they absolutely didn't. Sure, they have a bigger 1441cc inline 4, putting down 191 wheel horsepower and 113 wheel torques, but other than that, it's basically just a Busa. I mean, if you roll up next to a normie, they're gonna ask you, hey man, is that a Busa? They're gonna have to sit there and explain the subtle differences between a Busa and a ZX14, at which point the normie's gonna wanna suck on the exhaust pipe rather than continue the conversation. It's at that point when you've become a tryhard. Let's be real, ZX14 boys can't even do Busa boy culture right. Busa boys are tacky and terrible, but in a quaint way. I mean, they might have chrome and skulls all over their bike, but they own it. They understand how absurd it is. ZX14 guys, their bike's not absurd. This is the way that things are supposed to be. Chrome or die, bro. Yeah, I have aliens painted on my bike. What about it, bro? You wanna fight me, bro? See what I mean? That's kind of a try-hard energy right there. Moving on, let's bring things back to a normal and more even-keeled situation with number 2, the Honda CBR 500R. The CBR 500R is for beginner riders who measure the length of their turgid members in millimeters so that it sounds a lot bigger than it actually is. Oh wow, you're packing an 89 millimeter schlong. That's pretty impressive until you realize that's only 3.5 inches. That's kind of what the 500 is like. A lot of beginners out there think that a 300 is just too slow for them to get up to highway speed, and they really need a 600 for passing power. But then they see videos on YouTube saying that the Ninja 400 or Duke 390 is a great alternative to the 300s out there. They're still thinking 600 thoughts, but then at the last minute, they stumble across the perfect solution, Honda's CBR 500R. It's a bike with more numbers than the previous ones. It's genius. The R3 only has 321 cc's, and the Ninja's packing 399. Well, then surely a stonking great 471 cc's must be better, right? No. It's making the same power with more weight and a suspension that's about as well set up as a Lincoln Mark IV. I'll admit, I was skeptical when we had a CBR 500R as a giveaway. I'd heard some good things about it, and the price tag was pretty steep, but then I rode it and realized that it was two-wheeled ambient. It's about the most boring beginner bike out there, but it has ardent supporters willing to go to the mat to defend its honor, and that's why it's on the list of try-hard bikes for today. Number 3, and certain not to piss anybody off, is the Harley Dyna. Oh, but yeah, you need to come ride my Dyna. My Dyna's gonna change your mind. My Harley's gonna finally convince you that this Harley, you gotta love this Harley, Yami. You didn't ride the right Harley, Yami. You gotta ride this one. This is the one you gotta ride. I did a set of hot cams on mine that increases the low end by 5%, and I've got this suspension upgrade so I can get 25 degrees of lean before I start dragging parts, and then I put a Screamin' Seagull heavy breather intake and exhaust on there, bro. Bro, my Dyna's different. Listen, let's take a step back, but let me pose a question to you, my fragile Dyna, bro. What happens if I flew out to your Dyna and it didn't change my mind? Sure, you might think that I just don't get it, but here's what else will happen. Someone will write a comment on that video saying that I need to come and check out their Dyna because they did a different suspension upgrade and a different exhaust, and their bike is the real Dyna. This can be applied pretty generally to Harley people, but I see it the most among Dyna and Softail bros. They want me to come and check out their bike and pat them on the head and say it's a fast and good bike and definitely worth $18,000 before mods, but it's just not gonna happen because underneath all the skulls and the flames and the live to ride medallions, it is still just a Dyna. I will offer the olive branch here to smooth over some hurt fifis and say that those SoCal Dyna boys cracking wheelies on their 600-pound cruisers are seriously impressive. I love to see it, but otherwise, Dyna bros are just kind of tryhards, not gonna lie. Number 4 has to go to the BMW R1250 GS. You knew this one had to be on here, right? I mean, I suppose if you didn't, you're probably sitting there in your local coffee shop right now in a one-piece Aero-Stitch suit with a bright yellow Schubert helmet on the table next to you. This one's 50% on BMW and 50% on the riders. Let's start with BMW. I rode this god-dang behemoth through Arizona and Utah on a big adventure ride, and it was one of the least inspiring bikes. It was hard to get through tough off-road sections, you need to be spite-sized to pick it up, and it makes a sound that I can only describe as the fart of a World War I biplane. Yet, for some reason, BMW continues to sell this motorcycle as the world's foremost adventure bike. Go anywhere, the ads say. You will conquer any terrain. They'll always have some Poltares-esque test rider boosting the bike and doing crazy hill climbs, but let's be honest, ain't no normal riders crushing single track on a GS if they can help it. It's for wide open fire roads, and that's about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let's just be honest here, folks. Let's be honest and admit that none of you in the comments section are Graham Jarvis. None of you are doing the crazy stuff you're saying in the comments section. You're all average riders. How do I know that? Statistics. It's statistics, folks. All of you commenting are exactly the tip of the bell curve. You're nothing special. But then on the other side of things, you have the riders who are all too willing to take their BMW at their word and then send this battleship down some trail it has no business being on and then compartmentalizing all the negative stuff and calling it a fun adventure. You know what, really, GS people? You want to know what the world will actually make you happy? A Tenere 700. I know the truth can be painful sometimes. I'll give you a minute. Really think about it. That T7 is going to make you happy. It'll probably save your marriage too. Next up, we're going to take a second to talk about the Ducati Hypermotard. Hypermotard people are the tryhards of the supermoto world. They wanted to do wheelies and hood rat stuff with their friends, but then they realized they couldn't clutch up a DRZ 400 SM. They might have tried a 450 conversion, but when they realized that they looped it in a parking lot, and man alive, these service intervals are pretty crazy, I have to build the top end after 40 hours? No way. So instead, they got a naked bike that's cosplaying as a supermoto. Let's count the ways that the Hypermotard is not a sumo. First, it's a V-twin, which I hear a bunch of incensed Ducatistas clamoring, actually it's an L-twin. Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an L-twin, but what happens if you rotate that L by 45 degrees? Yeah, it looks an awful lot like a V, doesn't it? So obviously it's got too many cylinders, but it's also way too heavy. Sumos are supposed to be lightweight torque monsters, but fully fueled, the Hyper tips the scales at around 440 pounds. That is 10 pounds shy of my Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled. Even the 701 and the 690s, which are tenuous supermotos, are best managed to get in at 360 pounds wet and ready to ride. Sumos are usually between 230 and 250 to give you guys an idea. Lastly, sumos are meant to be cheap and easy to get into. When was the last time either of those were said about a Ducati? I'm talking about both right now, and I can't even put them in the same sentence. Yep, the Hypermotard is a tryhard bike. Deal with it. Number 6 today goes to all leader bikes. That's your R1s, your CBR 1000 RR SP Fireblades, your V4Ss and Rs, and any other bike that's meant to be ridden by a top-level rider or a MotoGP rider on a practice day. If you're rolling around on the street on a leader bike, why? Who hurt you? Don't you realize you can have all the speeding tickets you want without the crippling back pain and ball-melting heat with a Hyper Naked? Oh, but you need your full tuck for your highway pulls. I got you. But a Turbo Busa is going to spank your leader bike all day, every day. It'll cost about the same. It'll be more comfortable, and it'll win roll races. But maybe you're a track rat, and you wanted a leader bike so you go fast. You really should have gotten a 600. You'll go faster, learn more, and then when you inevitably get humbled by a 14-year-old kid on a Ninja 400, you'll be able to turn to your buddies and say, oh, yeah, man, that wouldn't happen if I was on my 1000. I'm getting him next weekend. We know you're not actually getting a 1000 next weekend, next year, anytime soon for that matter, but that's not the point. The point is being able to save face. There's no stepping up from a 1000 when you get humbled. You're not going to go and blame your horsepower or your suspension because everyone knows you're already running top shelf gear. You're going to be faced with the grim reality that you're just not fast, and no tryhard can handle that sort of self-reflection. Also, there is nothing better in life than passing leader bikes on the outside when I'm on my 675. Number 7 goes to everyone's favorite, the SV650. Oh no, Papa, you can't say anything bad about the SV650. It's the perfect mode. You can't do this. You can't get it off the list. It's the perfect motorcycle. It can do anything you want it to. With a few grand of mods, it's a perfect track bike. And with a few grand, you can turn it into a scrambler. Or you can turn it into a long-haul tourer. But at that point, shouldn't you have gotten a more different, specialized motorcycle? I mean, what's a used SV650 cost nowadays? You don't have to answer. I Googled it. They're going for around 5 or 6 grand, which is more than I remember them being. With 2 or 3 more in mods, you can pretty much get whatever bike you want. Let's face it, guys, unless you're a full SV650 simp, you're not going to have your track day setup and street setup and your touring setup ready to swap in like the watch from Ben 10. You're going to build your bike for the setup you want, and then when you want another bike that can do something else, guess what? You get another bike. That's why the N+1 rule is a thing. The answer to every two-wheeled question is not, in fact, SV650. It might be Tuono 660. Fact. During Ronald Reagan's presidency, Air Force One was outfitted with jelly bean holders to keep the president's favorite snack from spilling. Delightful. Goodbye.